We're going to talk about anxiety, which is a massive constraint in people's lives, and is the very thing that can lead us to exactly where we need to go. So that interesting like juxtaposition of I both don't want it and it may help me the most is a really interesting thing to talk about and to help people grapple with.
Yeah, and I am so excited to have this conversation because so many people that I speak to say they're experiencing anxiety.
Yeah.
The vast majority, and I've got to say me in the past, don't really understand what it is.
No.
Sometimes think that there's something wrong with us.
Mm-hmm.
And also how we can, like you just said, integrate and actually use it in a way that can move us forward.
Absolutely.
So, dead excited to have this conversation.
The pearls of wisdom that will come.
Yes, 100%.
This is the aim. And it is a massive topic. So we're going to,
Yes, bring it down.
We're going to break it down and do our best to, see what we can do in a short period of time.
Yes.
But it feels like the really useful place to start is to distinguish the difference between anxiety and fear.
Okay.
And that is not going to be agreed by everyone who is a psychologist or works in different professions, but this is one that is really valuable and really works for a whole load of the different symptoms that we get with anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So fear is very much about a threat that's occurring right here, right now. It's about there's a danger, there's a threat, there's an ongoing threat in my life which may harm me or people I care about or the world that I am living in. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So if I was to just give some examples now.
Sure.
For fear, so would that be like a bus is about to run me over?
Brilliant.
Right now?
Fear system, get the hell out of there, activates us in a very particular way, helps us to deal with the fact that there's an imminent threat that we need to sort out.
Yeah. And this is also the, lion in the jungle when we lived in tribes.
Absolutely.
Approaches, we're out of there.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So, in that case, what's anxiety?
So, anxiety is, there's some complex feelings inside me which are stirred up and have made me anxious. Now, this is weird for a lot of people. Like the idea that anxiety is about something happening inside of me rather than about what's happening outside can take a bit of getting used to. So I'm anxious because these complex feelings, I don't know how they're going to be responded to or whether what's going to happen with them. So for instance, I'm angry with you, but I like you at the same time, and I don't know whether I'm going to wreck our relationship by showing my anger, so I get anxious about it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is it takes a while to get used to this idea that anxiety is about an internal threat. So if I show you I'm angry, you may reject me. So I've got this feeling inside which may cause problems in my world. So I'm anxious about my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So my feelings are causing the anxiety. There's not an actual threat. You're not threatening me in any way. You're not showing that you're gonna, hurt me. But I'm anxious because I've got these mixed feelings inside, which then could cause a problem in my world. So my anxiety actually keeps those feelings, if you like, kind of suppressed. Yeah.
Interesting.
Or it tells us there are feelings, and it's the defences that keep the feelings suppressed. So
is that, to use an example of in a relationship, let's say, I'm thinking of a personal example, but not communicating with a partner because you don't want to hurt them, would that cause anxiety?
So the mixed feelings that get stirred up, like I want to share, but I'm going to hold back. I don't know if the relationship can tolerate it, whether I get the outcome that I would want. All the kind of mixed feelings that come that then make us anxious because there's there's been a past experience which tells us that good stuff doesn't happen when I share this sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't lead to where I want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it can be a bit strange because people get so used to saying, I'm anxious about this social situation, I'm anxious about burglars, I'm anxious about, I don't know, you know, being run over by a bus.
Yeah.
And yes, the anxiety, it can get projected out there, but the anxiety is like, so I've got the desire to get out there into the world, I've got a seeking system that wants to explore and investigate and go, and then I've got these other feelings about, I want to keep myself safe, I want to be assertive, and those mixed feelings are what bring the anxiety, rather than the bus that doesn't actually exist, because there's no bus. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So it's these mixed feelings. How am I going to manage having a desire to be out there in the world, doing my thing, investigating, being who I am, and not knowing how it's going to work out? And, you know, how am I going to manage all those mixed feelings? Those are what can bring the anxiety, rather than the hypothetical bus or the hypothetical, you know, person who may threaten us. So an example I use is, as I did more and more public speaking, I had to face that the feelings that I was having were not fear. Like I'd never had. I mean, I've had, you know, unpleasant experiences where people have been like, oh, who do you think you are, that sort of thing. But most of the time, you know, and in the environment I was in, I was not having people threatening me, people harming me when I was getting up and speaking. So the feelings that I was having were not fear. I wasn't scared of publicly speaking. I was having anxiety because actually I was hard on me. I was the one saying I should have said it differently. I shouldn't have said so much. You know, it was stuff going on inside me that was causing the problem. It was anxiety, not fear. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I recognised that I'm not scared of speaking in public, I'm getting anxious about it, that freed me, because I could go, well, what's underneath the anxiety? What's underneath this anxiety is, I've got some stuff to say that I think will be useful. I'm passionate about sharing, and I don't know if the world wants to hear it, and that is uncertain to me. So with that mix of feelings and some unconscious stuff and some past trauma, all of that can bundle up together and make me anxious.
So it's complex.
It's complex, but it's all in me, you know, and if all of that is mainly in, then I can work through that. I can do something with that. So it is complex, and this is why I think it's easier to help by saying, oh, are you scared about the bus? Or are you scared about the possibility of being run over? Are you scared about the possibility of getting ill? Are you scared about the possibility of having a heart attack? You know, that's something it's a bit easier to package and talk about. Yeah. And it's like there's a journey you can go on and you can tell people what to do. But the stuff I've just been talking about is completely unique to me. It's completely, your anxiety is completely unique to you. The only way for you to work through that anxiety and to find out what's underneath is to look within,
attention,
in the context of people who care, in my opinion. Yeah.
Just pausing. So yes, so one thing that I was wondering about is anxiety, you know, like the same as I'm worrying about climate change, or is that fear? And then the other question is it the same nervous system response with fear and anxiety, as in that fight, flight or freeze response?
So
it's
absolutely. Yes. So same. They're the same systems. Anxiety is our fear system going off about internal conflict.
And that's the differentiation.
Yes. But so let's just start with, if that's okay, with the climate change, which is, you know, the same for actual threats that exist in our world, and we have to do our work of separating them out. So yes, there is fear. There should be fear about climate change, and that's fear. It's a threat. It's a real thing. It's happening. It's happening now, and we need to be anxious. You know, the likelihood is that we're going to feel some anxiety. what, you know, about the mixed feelings that I feel as a result of climate change, and what am I going to do with that? Am I going to step up? You know, am I going to let my planet down, myself down? Am I going to regret my, you know, the mixed feelings that I fear are going to, that I feel are going to stir up anxiety within us. But we need to separate the two. So you can see how constraining it could be if we get all caught up in our anxiety about climate change and we don't differentiate it from the actual fear that there is you know, a massive problem that we all have to face into.
But what, like...
It's okay.
Just pausing yet, no, because
Yeah.
I don't want to take us off on a tangent. Or
This is important. This is why it's taken me a long time to create like an online course. It feels like this is too complex an issue. I'm not going to do the... I'm not going to, you know, do a good enough job of leaning into this. This is yeah.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. Yeah.
And the other thing that comes to my mind as a question is a very common thing that people come to me and sort of speak about is thinking they're ill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is it hypochondria?
Yeah, or health anxiety.
Health anxiety.
Yeah.
Yes, constantly.
Yeah.
And they think it's associated with the fact that they think they're ill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is that? Is that anxiety? Is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, unless there's an actual, you know.
But let's say there isn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're constantly checking. They're constantly being confirmed.
Yes.
No, you're okay.
Then that's the distraction. The distraction is the anxiety. You know, and I can focus on that just as a distraction is I'm worried about being run over. I'm worried, you know, or I'm socially anxious. I'm anxious out there. It's something out there, and actually it's. Of course, when it's health anxiety, we are focused on the body, but are we focused on the underlying feelings?
Yeah.
So, you know, the health anxiety may have started at a really key point when we were about to lose someone we love, or, you know, some trauma, something meaningful was happening, and the focus on the health, not in any way consciously, but that has taken the emotional energy away from what the, you know, loss or the grief or the, you know, the work that needed to be done underneath. So that's the challenge, but it's very sticky. Anxiety is really sticky, and it's designed to be, because it's the fear system saying this is really important. Pay all your attention to this. This is the key thing. So being able to differentiate it, like, yes, there's climate change and there's anxiety, and I'm differentiating it so that I don't get. So that it frees me to do to serve and to do what I need to do with regard to this big problem, or to, you know, get my health checked out if that's the issue, and then to not use the anxiety as the thing that blocks me in my life and constrains me from living how I want to live. Now, normally it's going to lead us to something incredibly meaningful and important underneath. You know, a deep desire we have within us for asserting ourselves, for having things that feel good in our life rather than, you know, difficulties and trauma, for being able to play, for being able to connect with people we love. You know, it might be anxiety because actually we need to turn away from, you know, our traditional connections like family, and we need to turn towards a new clan or a new community that actually really are going to serve us differently. You can imagine massive anxiety about the complex feelings that stirs up. And yet we still need to not get caught in the anxiety as much as possible, and to allow what's coming up underneath to find a way to break through.
To listen to it.
To listen to that.
Yeah.
So there's a big differentiation to be made between fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
There's this other one which is about fear and panic, or panic and anxiety. If we think about anxiety and fear being the same. Is he still on? Speak.
Oh no, you're not. Sorry. Just push it in. Make sure it's, that's it. You're back. So if you start that again. So there's this.
Nice.
You're going to get told off.
No.
Break out.
Am I on? Yeah.
Yeah, you're on. You're on.
So there's this key distinction between anxiety and fear, and understanding and differentiating those.
So if I was to just, as you say that quickly, label them: fear, immediate physical threat in the real world.
Yeah.
Anxiety, complex emotions within.
Yeah. That
Very basic summary.
That feel threatening, that we experience as threatening to us.
Okay.
Like, generally I can be cross with you and care about you, and that's not a complex, that's not an anxiety provoking feeling most of the time for me now, whereas it was years ago. Does that make sense? So it's not just about complexity, it's about complex feelings which we've learned are threatening to us in some way. Mm-hmm. Either consciously or unconsciously. Cool. So it means we don't necessarily know that this is a problem for us. But it can rock up. So the other differentiation, which is really important, is between panic and the fear system, or panic and anxiety. So fear and anxiety are using the same system, the same emotional systems. So there's different parts of the anxiety and fear system, which we won't go into right now, but is really important to understand the difference between the different parts of our, the part that gets us flighting is different to the part that gets us freezing. And these are different parts of the fear system. But those are different too to panic, and they can all get bundled together. That panic is like anxiety in some way. And being able to differentiate these, I think, is also really key. So fear is much more about I am being threatened. Someone who I love is being threatened, and we're in danger of harm coming to me or you or us. Panic is about there's a threat within our connection, so I'm going to lose my connection with you. And it's about our connection breaking down. So which sounds similar in some ways, but if we just think about it, it's much easier if you just think about how animals behave. So when a baby chick is scared, it's going to run away or it's going to freeze. Not so much to fight, but it's going to do one of those things, and you know what that looks like. If it's lost its mummy hen, it's not going to freeze or run away. It's going to run around. It searches. And it panics. Cheep, 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 cheep. It's going to get busy, making a noise, being frantic, both of which are completely useless in fear-related situations. You don't want to be frantic and noisy when there's a threat. So this is like an external threat, I'm going to get eaten. So it's you can see that the systems are very different. Panic is about, I'm about to lose something that's really important to me. I'm about to lose someone I love, and I'm going to lose the connection I have with them. So I'm going to make a lot of noise so that doesn't happen.
God, that makes a lot of sense.
Doesn't it? And we could get busy getting into the wordiness of it, but all you have to imagine is a baby chick. And it all kind of fits in together. So that sense of panic which can occur is about, I'm going to lose something important to me and I don't want to lose it, and I have kind of the ability to stop it being lost by my by making noise and by keeping a connection occurring. So this all fits now, doesn't it? I don't have to talk so much about panic. Just use an example. Of a chick. And like cows, there's a lovely book which talks about how cows will go back to where they lost their calf, and they'll frantically search for the calf that was taken from them in a panicky way, like as if maybe I can find my calf again. So
I think, it's such a good example, and it's just so true with human relationships.
Absolutely.
How we react when we think we might be losing a partner that we don't want to lose.
Yes.
And that, I actually didn't know that distinction, so that's just brought so much clarity at the moment, because it's a totally different reaction. of, you know, hold on, grab, and, you know, I don't
Keep.
want to lose you.
Yes. Yes.
Really painful, but doesn't that speak to how important, again, connection is to human beings, that we actually have this response?
Yeah.
Where when we're going to lose it,
we do
grab
whatever
on.
we can, and
Yeah.
and it's a response that we have even if we have lost someone.
Yeah.
So this came to life very much for me when I lost my sister-in-law, and the first 6 weeks after losing her, I was panicking, like going through everything we could have done differently. So even though I knew in my conscious mind that she'd gone, there was a part of me that was really working it through, and I guess partly about making sure that I learned as much as I possibly could from this devastating feeling, so that it didn't happen again. But it felt like panic.
Mm-hmm.
I can't describe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no other. You know, yes, it was part of a grief response, but it was panic. I woke up panicking every morning. So absolutely, and nothing. Nothing quite describes it in that way. So the panic system is very much about the connection system, and the fear system is a very different emotional system, but we need both.
Yeah.
And we need to know the difference between the two.
Yeah. Can we get rid of anxiety? Can we live a life anxiety-free?
Well, I think people try to, but I don't think it means we should. So I think we can try and numb it and defend against it and be, you know, and stay unconscious of our anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
That's certainly possible. Whether it leads to a good life or not, I would say no, because I think it completely annihilates the depth and authenticity of the connections that we can have.
Mm.
So knowing that connections lead to health and longevity and well-being, that actually that anxiety is part of how we get to have more authentic connections. We have to acknowledge the mixed feelings that we have inside in order to, you know, be vulnerable and take those and lean into difficulties in relationships. So we only create authentic connections if we can be honest about what's happening inside us, and part of that is going to be anxiety. In my opinion, anxiety is partly, so, you know, I use this metaphor of a river of learning, which is, you know, all about the window of tolerance, and lots of other people talk about it. But really thinking about this top edge of our capacity, that the top edge of our capacity is going to push us towards a more a place where we're likely to feel more anxiety. So if we stay away from that top edge the whole time in order to stay away from anxiety, well then we're going to limit our learning, our development, and who we really are and what we can be. So do we want to get rid of anxiety? I would say absolutely no, because it leads us to building capacity, to taking us new places, and to kind of who we really are.
Yeah.
And who would want to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but the interesting thing is that how important play is within that actually in that zone of tolerance that I'm learning, this is a bit edgy, I'm a bit uncomfortable, that what that does is it feels a bit anxiety provoking,
Yeah.
but we can play within it. We can, we can try new things, we can tinker around on the edges, we can, be in a place where we are kind of going beyond what we've done before, but maybe we're in a safe place, so we can try it and see what happens.
So it's like anxiety in many ways is also a growth zone.
Yes.
It can show us where we need to grow.
Absolutely.
So it's a message that if you're feeling that anxious point, there's growth to be found on the other side of it.
There's growth to be found,
Yeah.
for sure. And if we're regulating it so it's not too
Overwhelming.
much. Yes.
Yeah. If I was to just bring a few examples,
Great.
like fear of a burglar sort of coming in
Yeah.
to get you,
Yeah.
fear, I don't know.
Well, so we've got to start immediately there. Like, we can be anxious about...
Can I stop? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you say burglar?
Oh, I know, I said it wrong. It's a
I did
burglar.
my best not to laugh at that point.
I thought I can't let this carry on.
It's
Sorry,
a burglar.
It's not a burglar.
Okay, I'm going to reframe it anyway because I wanted to change it.
Yeah. So don't use an example that's so contentious immediately.
Okay.
So the examples that are best are there's a bus about to run me over.
A bus. I was thinking car.
There we are.
That
But
would have been
not
so
I
much
might
better.
get run over by a bus.
No, it's literally in the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go there. No burglars.
No burglar.
What is it? Burglar. Burglar.